the Nintendo Pulse Podcast, episode number 476. This episode is brought to you by our patron, Stephen Krellin. You too can support this show and all of our content for as little as $1 a month over at patreon.com/rezdtv. On this episode of the Nintendo Pulse Podcast, we're going to be talking about system sales, game sales, new games, and even games you can make yourself. All right, everybody, welcome to another Nintendo Pulse Podcast, episode number 476. As always, I am one of your hosts, Lloyd Hannison, and joining me, as always, my friend Steven the Mun. Steven, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's a nice weather today.
Yeah, it's beautiful out.
I had to go to work, which is always a bummer, but nice out.
We're in another shutdown here in Winnipeg, so everything's closed. Well, up to like 10% of people can go to stores and things, but the building that I'm in, the manager just basically said, yeah, everybody stay home for the next week or so, and we'll see what happens. So I've been working from home for so far this week, so it's been interesting.
All right.
Yeah,
things are a little different there then.
Exactly. Want to say we didn't do a show last week, so just to be completely transparent, there's some personal health issues that are happening in my family. I'm fine, my wife's fine, my kids are fine, but we got some stuff that's happening that's been unfortunately taking my attention away from doing videos, making podcasts, playing games, all that fun stuff. So if you've been wondering why there's been so many games or episodes missed over the last little bit, there's just been some crazy real life stuff that's happening. So I wanted to first apologize to everybody for not being forthcoming with these when there's going to be no episode for a week, but these things are just kind of like last minute. Oh crap, we got to go do this thing. Okay, and now it's dealing with the aftermath of all that stuff. So before anybody worries, it's nothing super serious for me, so don't worry there. But it's just some really crappy stuff that's happening, which unfortunately is keeping me away from the hobby here. So wanted to come out and make sure everybody was aware, just if you're wondering. I wish I could tell this to everybody that has just decided to unsubscribe, but unfortunately that's not the way the world works. So if you unsubscribed and you never heard this, I apologize to you as well, but you'll never hear it.
Yeah, so it's falling on unsubscribed ears.
Exactly. So just wanted to come out. Hopefully not too many more over the next little bit, but it's kind of touch and go with the way things are in the world right now. So it's been interesting. So anyway, we'll leave it at that. No worries. No need to send me messages or anything, even though I would appreciate it. Just wanted to be a little bit transparent as to what's been happening here, as to why the show has been missing over the last little bit.
Yes, we all obviously wish you all well.
Awesome. Well, what do you say we get rid of that junk and we talk about some video game stuff?
All right, let's do it. I've heard of video games.
All right. Well, first, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. I want to say a huge thank you to all of our patrons over at patreon.com/rezdtv, youtube.com/nerdnest is where you can find all of our videos. Feedback at rez.tv is where you can drop us an email, and you can check out our Discord channel over at rez.tv/Discord. All right. Let's get into what we've been playing. This was supposed to be a game that I wanted to talk about this week. And unfortunately, it's not available on the Nintendo Switch. It was supposed to come out, and it didn't. This is one of the... Do you ever get those... get this thing happening to you, Steven, where you wake up at like 2 a.m. and you can't fall back asleep, so you go do other things, you read or whatever, and it's like, you know what? A video game that I really wanted to play is out. I'm going to go buy it, and I'm going to play it at 3 a.m. Because that's what I did with Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. It came out last week, but unfortunately, it didn't come out on Nintendo Switch as it was supposed to. The developers eventually posted a message saying that due to issues with the eShop, it's not available yet. They're going to get it available as soon as they possibly can. So I ended up picking this one up on Xbox because, well, it's a 20-year-old game that's being emulated, essentially. It doesn't really matter which system you're playing it on. So I went and picked up Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, and man, I miss old action RPGs. Like there was a heyday there in the OG Xbox, GameCube, PlayStation 2 era, where there was just a plethora of Baldur's Gate games, top-down Baldur's Gate games, Gauntlet games, a whole bunch of them. I'm blanking on all the other ones. There must have been about a dozen games over the generation, and I think I picked up every one at some point on some console. And most of them I picked up with like kind of sight unseen. I would pick up the box and it's like, oh yeah, top down RPG. Okay, let's go. Top down action RPG. Okay, let's go. And I'd pick it up, take it home, and we would have lots of fun playing it. So jumping back into a game that came out in 2001, which I played either on the original Xbox or GameCube. I can't remember which version I played, and I looked for my original disc and I don't have it, so it must have been one of the ones that I traded in. It's amazing going back to a game that's 20 years old and still remembering some of it, and then not remembering other huge swaths of the game. So if you're not familiar, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, it's kind of like a Diablo game. That's the easiest way to put it out there. It's kind of a 3/4 overhead view. You're going through dungeons, you're killing things, you're getting XP, you're leveling up, you get feat points that you can then put into different things to make yourself stronger, to do elemental arrows or special attacks depending on your character class. You're collecting equipment and upgrading your equipment, so kind of the normal kind of Diablo thing. But this is a game that did it like way back in the day. So it's really kind of funny when the title screen comes up. The fonts are like, I don't know, if you're playing on like a 50-inch screen, say, your fonts would be like each menu item would be about like 1.5 feet across on a 50-inch TV. The font is just cranked up to 11 because you were dealing with 480p back in the day on a CRT tube, and the next thing you know, you get a 1080p, everything stretches out, and if you kept the font size the same size, it would be super tiny. So thankfully with this port, they didn't do that. But it's been a hell of a lot of fun playing it. I can't wait for this game to come to the Switch. This may be a game that I double dip on so that I can play with family members because it is just so much fun playing this game multiplayer. It's been fun single player, but multiplayer is where this game kind of really rocks. So yeah, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. Hopefully it graces the Nintendo Switch's eShop very soon. I was hoping that today, like I checked it after the normal update time, and it's like, damn, it's not there yet. Okay, well, hopefully by next episode, some people will be able to play Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance.
That is surprising to me. I had no idea that it hadn't actually released on the Switch yet.
Yeah.
Because it was supposed to be simultaneous across all the platforms.
It was supposed to be a release. Like they gave you like a week's notice. Oh, by the way, this game's coming. Everybody got excited. It was launching on PS4, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. And the Switch version didn't drop for whatever reason. So there must have been something with lot check, maybe some sort of issue that way. But man, it is so much fun going back to old games like this. And this is a game that would be even fun if you didn't play it before. It is an old game, but it's now widescreen. It's higher res textures. It looks nice, except for the fact that all of the environments have like 2 boxes and a bottle because they were all so worried about polygon counts back in the day. They had to make the environments like so minimalistic so that the game would still run. So you feel kind of out of place with like these really nicely textured walls, but there's like nothing around. It's just like these empty square rooms, which is kind of a calling card of a bygone era. So it's been a lot of fun. It's I think up here in Canada it was $30. I think it might be 30 in the US or 35 or 25, something like that. I think it's $30 though in the US. Maybe it was 35 up here. So this is a game that it's not super expensive to buy on a console, but then you have to hook up your old consoles and make sure they work and find a CRT that you can hook it up to, or some sort of crazy HDMI, like composite to HDMI adapter, all that crazy junk. Or you could just spend $30 and pick it up on a modern digital download. And that's what I chose to do. And man, this game is so much fun.
That's great. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I know that my brothers played it a bunch in the PS2 era, I believe, on the PS2.
Yeah.
So
Definitely. So yeah, that's pretty much all that I've been playing for the last little bit. That wasn't Resident Evil Village because I've been playing a lot of that as well. So what have you been playing on your Nintendo platform, Steven?
Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been going through the process of still polishing up my new island design. At this point, that's mostly just been pushing out the squirrels and inviting in ducks, which has been a lot of fun. I've got, I think, 8 ducks now out of the 10 islanders. The other 2 are still squirrels.
Autocorrect fail. Oh, you really meant ducks. Oh, okay. Never mind then. Never mind.
Yes, I absolutely mean ducks this time. I'm surprised autocorrect didn't go the other direction.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Yeah, it's finally it learned sort of it's Animal Crossing. I love Animal Crossing New Horizons, but it's one of those games where the more you play it, the more frustrated you become with its limitations.
Right.
And the fact that I can't change the name of my island to Duckburg is so frustrating to me. But
you can't change the name after it's already been picked. I didn't realize that.
Correct.
I mean, I guess I never tried, so it makes sense. But that's too bad.
Yeah, you can't change any of that. You can't change your character's name. You can't change the island's name. It's all locked. It's all set in stone unless you wipe it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. All you need to do now is erase your save game, and then you have another 2 years of fun ahead of you.
Oh, goodness, that would be great, having to relearn every single DIY in the game. Ugh, man.
There's probably enough of them sitting on the floors of all the lands of the people that are on the Res TV Discord in the Crossing Animals channel, where you'd be able to fill most of your book almost instantly.
Just about, yeah. Yeah, we generally have a lot. There were a couple of islands for a while that were just pretty much nothing but DIYs everywhere.
That's hilarious.
And most of us have cleaned them up at this point because we have almost all of the DIYs. So there's only a handful left to get.
Nice.
Which is fun.
Cool.
But yeah, still having a great time with it. I still play it every day. I haven't missed a single day since launch. I came close last week, 2 days till after like 9 p.m. But I did play, and it's still going.
Oh, good on you.
For a big update soon,
or an update period would be really nice. Instead of just doing the same things over again. But I mean, E3 is coming up, or the E3 season, so maybe we'll get a big announcement sometime in June about what's coming up next for Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Yeah, I'm actually hoping for a giant expansion pack that possibly that they even charge for, because I would pay for that.
I'm sure there's a large percentage of the population that bought the game that would pay $20 or $30 for a big DLC pack that adds a bunch of new stuff to the game. Like Nintendo could keep this game going for a very long time if they choose to go that route. Yeah,
there's no doubt in my mind. And that's this week's episode of Crossing Animals.
Right. Except for one news story right at the end.
Oh, yes, we'll get to that. And the other thing I've been playing, speaking of games that aren't on Nintendo Switch, but would be great if they were, Jedi Fallen Order.
Nice.
I finally picked that up for Star Wars Day. It was on sale for $15 on PS4.
Nice.
So I picked it up and spent most of an hour installing and then updating it. And it's really good. And then other times it's really, really bad.
Oh, yeah.
Because the controls are very frustrating in the game, and it's got some technical problems still. Years after launch, it's still glitchy. So
I found the controls were fine. For me, it was the lack of fast travel gets really old near the end of the game, where it's it's like I have to travel across the whole freaking galaxy and then walk all the way across the whole level just to get one item I forgot. Yay. No fast travel was just a pain in the butt there. Hopefully whatever comes next will do away with we want to make it seem real. Meanwhile, you're running around the galaxy with laser swords. So maybe that's not a thing to go for in your Star Wars games. Maybe just put a fast travel system in.
Yeah, there's been multiple instances where it was like, oh my gosh, can I please just fast travel back to my ship now?
Exactly.
or I think that they did a decent job with Metroid Prime 3 in that respect. They didn't want to do a fast travel, so instead what they did was they give you there's landing pads, multiple landing pads around the various levels, and if you go to one of the landing pads, you can call your ship there. And it made sense. It made sense that there would be hangars and docks for ships,
right?
And you could go to one, call your ship would come in, you hop in your ship. You could either use that to fly to one of the other pads, effectively a fast travel that's not as fast as it could have been,
right?
Or you could just fly to a different planet, go back to one of the other planets and land anywhere you wanted. It was a pretty Nintendo-y kind of a solution to that problem, and they kind of could have done that with this, because in almost every instance there is a ship there waiting for you. So
right.
They don't have to be on the other end of the planet.
Nice.
But overall, enjoying it a great deal. I don't know how close to the end of the game I am. I took down a boss that feels very important. But yeah, I feel like I'm making significant progress. Sometimes I get a little stuck. Haven't had to look anything up.
Right.
So
That's
enjoying
cool.
it a great deal. And EA has an event coming up that they just announced. They're going to be doing their EA Play or whatever it's called event.
Right.
And there's a lot of people. Yeah, there's a lot of people who think they may be announcing the sequel to this game.
I really hope so.
2022 release. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's good.
Right.
It was a really good game. I loved Jedi Fallen Order, and yeah, that would have been a great game to come to Nintendo Switch. That would be a lot of fun for that to be released along to join like Bounty Hunter and all the other Star Wars games that have appeared on the system over the last little bit.
Yeah. No, obviously it wouldn't look anywhere near as good.
No.
But one thing that we've learned from Panic Button is that magic can happen.
That's right. All right, cool. Well, what do you say we move into the news of the week? There isn't much in the way of game releases. There's been just a crap ton of a bunch of indie games, some really great indies. Go check that out. Go look at the new releases. The biggest game that came out was new Pokemon Snap. I assumed that Miitopia was out because of all the people that are posting about it on Twitter with this stupid Mii creator. That thing is ridiculous. People are making like Strong Bad and like Kratos and all this stuff, and it looks exactly like those characters. So I assumed that Miitopia came out last week, and I had forgotten, but no, that comes later in May. So the biggest game to come out was new Pokemon Snap, and people seem to be liking that. Although the chatter's kind of died down. Like it was sort of a fever pitch on Twitter for a while, and then next thing you know, it's kind of empty.
Yeah, I completely stopped hearing about it to the point where I had forgotten that it came out.
Yeah, it's weird. So I guess we'll get into the news anyway, because Nintendo announced a new title out of the blue. It's coming out June 11th, and it looks absolutely fantastic. It's called Game Builder Garage. And if that sounds familiar and you've played Labo, any of the Labo collections, well, it's because Labo had a little thing called Game Garage inside of it where you can make your own little video games by kind of plugging things, moving wires, sort of, and saying, okay, I'm going to make, if I hit this button, this happens. If I hit this button, this happens. If I tilt left, tilt right, this happens. Game Builder Garage is kind of that, but cranked up to just a whole different level. As I said, it's coming out June 11th. It's $30 in the US, $40 up here in Canada. And it's essentially a visual programming for people that have never programmed before, all the way up to people that maybe have made games before. This is going to be huge. I can just imagine all the kids that are going to be making video games. I can imagine all the school classes that are going to use this as a tool to teach programming to younger kids. What a fantastic thing, and also what a thing that only Nintendo could do.
Right. This announcement was just completely out of the blue. Didn't expect it. Just suddenly they dropped a trailer and an announcement and said, here's the thing, it's happening, coming soon.
Yeah.
It's I guess it's just they were like, well, we need something for right before E3, so here it comes.
Totally right. It's it looks ridiculous. There's a whole tutorial that is like a huge tutorial where they get you to make things, and there's interactive lessons where you're doing stuff and it's teaching you while you're doing it. There's a bunch of like quizzes and tests and things built into it. Like Nintendo's really serious about teaching the next generation of programmers that can then come work at Nintendo with this system. I guess what really needs to come out, there's been a little bit of information where it looks like you're going to be able to do some sharing and things like that. But I want to see what if there's going to be some sort of built-in game browser or something. Like, is this going to be the Little Big Planet for Nintendo? Or is this just going to be, oh, I made a cool game. Here's my 83 character code that you have to punch in manually into your Nintendo Switch. So it'll be very interesting to see how Nintendo handles this. I would err on the side of you're going to be punching in all those damn numbers. But I hope that Nintendo is smart and allows you to see like the top upvoted games, the most played games, the most loved games or something, because this could be huge. For $30, that's a pretty low cost of entry. And this could be a big game for Nintendo with people creating user-generated content and sharing things and making just ridiculously fun little mini games that Nintendo can then go just add new features to this title and make a bunch of new games available or possible just by adding content to it. So very, very excited about this one and really curious to see where Nintendo goes with it.
Yeah, it's interesting to see this come out now because it really it could be a response to what Nintendo sees everybody doing with Animal Crossing New Horizons, because it's really kind of exploded largely because of the user-generated content.
Right.
Some of these islands are just absolutely incredible. Even just the small cross-section of the people who are in the Crossing Animals Discord that we run here. Even just that handful of islands, they're all great.
Yeah.
And, when you go even, broader than that. So Nintendo has to recognize that there's some incredibly creative people in their ecosystem now who might create amazing things with the game Builder Garage.
Exactly. Yeah. So, if you want to check out more, obviously go to Nintendo's website, and just do a search for Game Builder Garage, and they'll kind of show you how you'll have like a button block and a stick block, and then you grab a little node from the stick block and you put it to the left and right and forward and backwards controls of a person, and you're basically just dragging and dropping little wires to make things work. It does get a lot more complex than that, but what a cool way to teach people how to program. And I'm very excited about this game coming out and seeing what people are going to be able to come up with over the weeks and months after launch.
Agree completely.
All right, let's move on. So, I mean, we talk about this a lot, and people are like, "Oh, you talk about numbers so much," but this is really interesting. Like, we lived through the Wii U era. There was not a lot of numbers to talk about that were good. So when Nintendo is selling just Switches by the boatload, it's fun to chat about it as someone that's been covering Nintendo on a podcast since like 2006. This is a heck of a lot of fun. As of the end of March of 2021, Nintendo has officially sold 84.59 million Switch units, which means that it is now bested the Game Boy Advance, which sold 81.5, which makes the Switch Nintendo's fourth best-selling system of all time, behind the Wii, the Game Boy, and the DS. So all three of those are over 100 million. So Nintendo still has a lot of work to do. But holy hell, almost 84.5 million units. That's pretty darn awesome. Nintendo Switch hasn't been out for 10 years or anything like that. So those are pretty decent numbers.
They really are. It's just a bonkers kind of a thing when you think about, that, and that's just the Game Boy Advance, that one particular slice of, the GBA, the GBA SP,
yeah,
the Game Boy Micro, if anybody bought that besides me. All of those kind of, lumped together. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. Some of the numbers are broken down a little bit more. The last fiscal year alone, so in the last year from March 2020 to March 2021, Nintendo shipped 28.83 million Switch units, so almost 29 million units, which is better than the previous year, which was 21.03. So usually consoles don't continue to trend upwards; they kind of quickly go up and then they slowly start petering out. Like it would be normally a smaller curve. This is still Nintendo's trajectory going up, which is that's what the Nintendo Wii did. That's what was so crazy about the Nintendo Wii and its sales. Nintendo Switch seems to be still doing that. And then they broke down the types of consoles purchased. So 20.32 million were the standard Switch. That's the dockable Switch, so the switchable Switch. While 8.51 million were the Switch Lite. So as much as people think that having a cheap unit on the market sells way more than the other unit, that's obviously not the case either. Not even a third of the sales were for the Switch Lite, which means that the Switch is really attractive to people because it can be played on TV, but also when you're sitting on the couch in portable mode. So very, very interesting. And because of all these numbers, because of all the sales, because of the Switch, Nintendo has now officially sold over a 500 million handheld consoles. So 500 million units shipped from all of Nintendo's products: the Game Boy, Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Color, Advance, Micro, DS, DSi, 3DS, new 3DS, Switch, and Switch Lite has sold in total 514.75 million units, which is ridiculous.
That is a big number. That is a very big number.
It is really kind of ridiculous. But I mean, those numbers are good. But according to Nikkei, which is I guess a financial reporting, tech reporting organization, Nintendo is reportedly ramping up Switch output to 30 million units this fiscal year. They don't want to ship less than 2020 to 2021. They want to ship more, up to 30 million units. And the people that came out with this report, and also according to some reports that have popped up in Bloomberg and some other things with the OLED screens and all this, that 30 million unit mark is also going to include whatever the higher end Switch is. So it's those numbers will include Switch Lite, Switch, and Switch Pro, or whatever that one is named. So I could see them easily moving that, because there's going to be so many Switch users that are going to want to upgrade to the next one, plus all the people that are still buying Switches and Switch Lites and all that stuff. I would be surprised if they didn't sell more than the 30 million, to be quite honest with you, if a new hardware revision comes out, say November time. If it comes out in December, well, maybe that'll be tough to hit, but I guess we'll have to see what happens. But man, Nintendo they're printing money again, and it's really a great thing to see.
It really is. I hope that next console comes pretty soon.
I've been approached by two separate people whose Switch is breaking and having issues, and they're like, should I just go buy one or should I wait? And I'm like, I don't know. I would say, I mean, you might get an announcement of a Switch next month in June, but it's not coming out in June. You're probably looking at November. So if you really need a Switch, you should be buying one now and then upgrading in the future. And that really sucks. And I felt really bad for those people. But two people came to me saying, what do I do? My Switch screen has a little crack in it, or I can't remember what the other problem was. I think it was a battery life issue or whatever. And they were like, should I just buy a new one? It's like, oh, well, sure, but you might only have it for 4 or 5 months before you want to flip it again for whatever the next model is. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting next month and a bit as we march towards E3 and see what Nintendo has to offer there.
It is, yeah. We're getting desperate out here. My console is falling apart.
So many people's consoles are having issues because it is 3 years old, right? Like it's not the new console on the block anymore. So
4 years.
4 years
old now.
4 years. Oh my God, time is so weird in pandemic times. Things are just very weird. Speaking of very weird things, Nintendo came out with yet another Nintendo Switch update today version 12.0.2, and it really does nothing except for system stability. So again, Nintendo is weird with their system stability.
Yeah. There's a couple of people have documented a couple of changes at the system level, and it's believed that they are probably just bug fixes.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see the kind of breakdowns over the next little bit. So usually within a week of a new firmware coming out, people are data mining it to see, is there any new system on a chips being referenced, any new resolution sizes, any new hardware, a bigger RAM footprint, because a lot of times with Nintendo's working on new hardware, it somehow slips into their production OS, especially with the Switch, where they're sharing the same operating system from the Lite to the Switch to presumably the Switch Pro. So over the next week, we'll probably get some interesting news from that if there's anything new in this firmware.
Yeah, I'll definitely be watching for that.
All right. A couple game announcements. We got a couple out of left field game announcements, which made me kind of smile. The first one is Flashback 2 is coming, and it's coming to consoles, including presumably the Nintendo Switch and PC. It'll be a 2022 release. But Flashback, if you're not familiar with that game, Steven, what is Flashback? If people have never played it, what is it?
Flashback was a story platformer. It was very much like a tech demo type of a thing.
Yeah.
The motion was all rotoscoped, right?
Yep.
It was very, very interesting. Used a lot of like what looked like flat shaded polygons, and to create a very kind of a cinematic look.
Right.
Yeah.
It was some of the best 3D graphics and animation that I'd ever seen when this game first came out in 92. I'm pretty sure I played this over at a buddy's house on his Amiga, and I was just like, oh my God, the Amiga is a god system. And then I had it on DOS, and then it was on the Super NES, and it was on a bunch of different
Sega
consoles,
Genesis,
bunch of different things after that as well. But I can still remember seeing this game run for its first time on, I believe it was the Amiga. I think that's where we played it on. And it was just like, holy crap, this looks like real life animation. This is so good. Even though like the character models are like 4 polygons. But for some reason, back in the day, it looked just absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah. It's I think the first time you saw Flashback, if you're our age, or older, just really very, very much imprinted on you as one of those iconic games that
exactly.
Not that fun to play.
Yeah, it was a game that was more
very difficult.
It was a mixture between Dragon's Lair and like a normal like standard video game of the era. So it had kind of like the twitch controls, and like if you don't hit left right away, you're dead. You're instantly dead, and you get hit by a slug that gives you poison and you fall on your face. But then it had like the really great graphics, but then it had kind of like, I don't know, not so good platforming and gameplay. But this was a game that was basically just to be it was out there to be a graphical sizzle reel of, hey, look what we can do right now. In 1992, this new hardware is just so good. And then yeah, you play it nowadays. Like, it was re-released recently on the Nintendo Switch, which I played it on the Switch, and it's not a super fun game to play unless you've played it before and you've memorized all these sections, because there's a lot of trial and error deaths that you go through. But based on how good Flashback looked back in the day, I'm really hyped to see what number 2 is going to be. Is it going to be just as impressive as seeing Flashback for the first time? I highly doubt it, but I'm really anticipating or excited to see, we'll say, what comes out of Flashback 2, and hopefully this is a game that I'll be playing on my Switch Pro when that system comes out.
It'd be remarkable if they gave it the exact same visual style.
Yeah, that would be great. That'd be
maybe
great.
With a higher frame rate, but
higher frame rate, higher resolution, 4K, with kind of like a I don't know, like a Blade Runner aesthetic with like more neon and glowing. Oh my God, that game would be fantastic. I want to play that right now. Steven, make it for me.
All right, I'll get right on that. I'll boot up Game Builder Garage.
There you go. And then we got an announcement that Disney and Dotemu are coming together, not .emu like I was saying before. I'm going to keep saying that because I was ridiculous to
We
think
got to get used to it.
it
Yeah.
was Dotemu is coming out. They're re-releasing a couple of LucasArts games, of all things. So if you've ever wanted to play Zombies Ate My Neighbors or Ghoul Patrol, but you can't find the cartridge or any other way to play it, you'll be able to get it on the Nintendo Switch, which is crazy. I guess re-releases, but they're kind of like remastered almost. Like the graphics look the same, but they look, I don't know, cleaner. I don't know, really know how to put it. It's like they did some work to the sprites a little bit to make it, or maybe it's just the fact that it's not running on a Super Nintendo. Maybe it's running at a higher frame rate or something to make it look better. But I have some fond memories of playing Zombies Ate My Neighbors, and to see this game re-released. I don't know. Would you have bet money that this game would ever come out again, Steven?
No, especially if you went back a couple of years. I just, we were all upset because it appeared that Disney was just kind of dropping all their old Lucas games into a box and closing that box and ignoring it.
Yep.
But over the last little bit, we've started to see these games coming back. You have your Republic Commando and your Bounty Hunter and really re-releases of the old Star Wars games on the PlayStation crazy. And stuff. So it's neat.
It's crazy. I'm excited for this. I don't know if I'm going to be buying either of these, but I'm so happy they exist because they were great games from way back in the day. Both of these will be coming out on June 29th, so you don't have a long time to wait if you want to play some Ghoul Patrol or Zombies Ate My Neighbors on your Nintendo Switch. And if those games are maybe too old, maybe you want to play remasters of something that came out on the PlayStation 1. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 will be hitting the Switch on June 25th, so right around the same time. So you'll be able to finally play this game on your Nintendo Switch. It's been out on other consoles, but now you'll be able to play it on your Switch. So you can basically play through the entirety of a remastered version of Tony Hawk 1 and 2, which is fantastic. The game just looks so good. I've watched a lot of people play it on PlayStation, and it just looks ridiculous. So the thought of playing this on my Switch has me smiling a lot.
Yeah. These remasters are supposed to be pretty fabulous.
They are, and the Create a Park mode that's built in. It's like one of the best like level creators that I've ever seen. Some of the stuff that people are creating is just ridiculous. Where people are making like real world roller coasters, except things that you can grind. So you're basically going through what is a real world roller coaster that you could go to an amusement park to ride, but they rebuilt it in this game, and you're actually like just grinding the rails all the way around and other crazy stuff like that. So all that stuff is just ridiculous, and it's going to be fun to see what Nintendo Switch fans do when this game drops on June 25th.
Really creative people on the Switch.
Definitely. All right. Speaking of creative, that's a terrible segue. But last but not least, Animal Crossing Build-A-Bears. Something that on Crossing Animals, like episode 2, we said this needs to happen. And it's finally happening, but they sold out pretty much immediately. They were hard to find. Of course, a lot of Build-A-Bear locations are closed because of COVID, depending on which part of the world you live in. People were stressing about how they could get it. Well, they've been restocked. So if you can go to the Build-A-Bears online website, you can build them there. But you can also buy them directly from the Nintendo's online web store. Or you can actually go to the Nintendo World store. If you're in New York, if you're in Manhattan, you can go to the Nintendo's New York store, and you can actually buy them that way. This is how Nintendo should be selling everything. Like, their online store should have every amiibo, everything that Nintendo produces, because I could go there right now. I can click a button on Build-A-Bear Workshop Animal Crossing New Horizons Tom Nook Summer, click buy, and within a couple clicks and some payment information, I have a stuffed animal coming right to my house without having to pay crazy shipping from Build-A-Bear's website, because shipping to Canada is not very nice, but also not having to go to a mall and wait in line to build one of these myself. So if you have some Animal Crossing fans in your life, ordering right from Nintendo.com or store.nintendo.com might be the way to go. But these Build-A-Bear plushes are just so cute. If my kids are a little bit smaller, I know we would have the whole collection a couple times over. But they're, I think, a little bit too big for this type of stuff now. But I can live vicariously through people on Twitter.
Yeah, these are adorable. I really dig the little Tom Nook outfit.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. And I've seen that there's a bunch of different outfits that they're selling at Build-A-Bear. I don't think you can buy the individual outfits on Nintendo.com, but at one point I saw multiple versions of the Build-A-Bears listed. It looks like there's only one now, so I don't know if they sold out of the other ones. I think it was like the winter look or whatever, but now it's just Tom Nook's summer and Isabel's summer look. So at some point you might have been able to get something that that was different than these ones, but it looks like those are the only ones that are available right now.
Yeah, they had a different seasonal outfit. I think it may have been winter.
Yeah, I can't remember. But yeah, if Animal Crossing is your jam and you want more stuff, head to store.nintendo.com. Not only can you get the game and the Nintendo Switch, you can get the Build-A-Bear things that we just talked about, but they have a whole bunch of crazy accessories and shirts and beanies and different plushes and sweaters and you name it. Nintendo has a lot of Animal Crossing merch here. As I said, this would be something that would be fantastic if Nintendo did this for everything. Like if you could buy every amiibo online, that would be great. Like I clicked on amiibo and there's currently 7 that's up on the website. It'd be nice if they'd had all of them and they would just they would make them to order. Once they had 10,000 orders of Link with the pea yellow stand, they would do a print run of those and bring them to the people that ordered them. That would be the best way to sell amiibo. But hopefully you'll be able to buy all the new ones online off their website for quite some time.
Yeah, maybe they've finally gotten a clue.
Yeah, hopefully. All right, man. I think that's going to about do it for this episode 476 of Nintendo Pulse. Thanks for joining me for the episode, Steven.
Oh, this was a good time. You know, I like being here.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I hate that we keep missing weeks. Hopefully that will be a thing of the past as we move forward. But appreciate everybody for sticking with us as we go through these issues. You can hit us up at rezdtvp. See all the other podcasts, audio podcasts that are available on the network. Head on over to rezdtv/discord to join our Discord server. Head on over to nerdnest.tv to see all of the video game content. And you can drop us an email at feedback@rezdtv. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening. And Steven, we'll talk to you next week here on Nintendo Pulse.
See you next week.